Hi, I had a question. First of all, amazing to have you, Dr. King. Thank you, McCain,
Thank you.
for coming, and it was wonderful to have you share your experience. I was wondering if you could please share a moment or experience from your work that stands out to you as like particularly rewarding or impactful.
Sure. So we're maybe not quite to the point of impact yet, but I think we're getting close. But so I'll share this story anyway. Um, so as I told you, kind of a lot of my work when I was a student was on the heart, and so uh, we do tissue engineering. So we engineer like small pieces of heart tissue that you can use for drug testing or personalized medicine. So we do a lot of stem cell work, for example, and so we can make stem cells from patient skin cells. So for like any of you, we can take your skin, make a stem cell, and then make a heart cell. So we could test how your heart cells will respond to a drug. Um, and we as engineers, we're really building like the devices to make those measurements. So we rely on the stem cell biologists to figure out all the stem cell like molecular biology side of things. And then we take those cells, engineer them into tissues, and make readouts of how strong they contract based on a certain genetic mutation or a drug that you give them, right? And that's a lot of what I did as a postdoc as well before starting my faculty job. So we still work in this area, but in 2018, I had my first child, so I was pregnant, and through the process of like being pregnant and childbirth is like, you know what, the uterus is also a muscle. The uterus also contracts. The uterus is also affected by drugs or different patient demographics could affect how strong the uterus can contract. It's like a lot of the same principles. And even like, so in a heart attack, basically, there's a lack of blood supply to part of the heart, and that heart tissue actually dies and is replaced with a scar. So you get kind of fibrosis in the heart. The uterus also gets fibroids very commonly. Fibroids are very, very common in the uterus. So it's also like there's a lot of kind of similar disease states that can affect both organs. But the difference is tons of people have been studying heart disease for decades, and the uterus has really not been studied at all. So after having a child and being like inspired by that, we started applying a lot of our same tools, like our heart on a chip tools, but for the muscle cells from the uterus. So we now have been culturing cells from human uterus and similarly measuring how they respond to different hormones, how they respond to like cigarette smoke extract, how they respond to other like inflammatory markers. So, like infection is actually a big cause of preterm labor, for example, but we don't know why or what we could target in that. So so we're still kind of early stages. We have the first paper kind of in review now on this topic, but I'm hoping to grow it out more. And I think kind of pivoting a little bit towards women's health is something I'm proud of, and I hope that we can continue to push in this direction because it's really been under research for reasons that you can I'm sure you're aware, right? So yeah, good question.
Okay, it looks like we have another question, two other questions in the chat. First one is, what would you say is the secret of your success?
To be honest, I think just curiosity. Like I really, at the end of the day, I really still get excited about cells and how cells communicate with each other and how they work and how they go wrong in disease. Like still having that like fundamental curiosity about how things work. So, no matter what you end up doing, making sure that it's something that you're really curious and passionate about. That's what really drives me because there's so much other stuff that like is so difficult that we have to deal with, right? But if you don't have that really passion, it's hard to kind of make get through the other side. So I think curiosity, another big trait, especially as you go through your careers and get into more leadership positions, empathy is so important. So empathy, just trying to understand where people are coming from, what are their priorities, how can you help them succeed, right? So really trying to connect with other people has been really it's really an important skill, especially in more leadership roles, like I have now compared to when I was a student. So and yeah, perseverance, right? Just knowing to keep going. And actually I should say like how would I say that? Intelligent perseverance. So also knowing when to give up on something, like this idea is just not working, we need to pivot. And just like I said, seeing failure as part of the process. So if you all have heard of like a growth mindset, so embracing the failure, you can kind of, when I get a grant rejected or whatever, I'm disappointed, and I'll kind of sit in those disappointing feelings, but then say, okay, let me look at the feedback. Okay, they actually had a good point here. Maybe I should adjust the project and take it in this direction, right? So like taking feedback with a positive spin. And then the second question, career paths in biomedical engineering, is a great question. So biomedical engineering is a super broad field, and it's kind of a blessing and a curse, right? Depending on how you spin it. I love biomedical engineering because it is so interdisciplinary. I know a little bit of electrical engineering. I know a little bit of mechanical engineering. I know a little bit of biology, right? I can like put all these things together and like be the common language between these different areas. Sometimes I get frustrated because I don't have the depth that maybe some of my colleagues do. So I don't, I'm not able to grow stem cells as well as my stem cell colleagues, and I can't make devices as good as my electrical engineering colleagues. But that's okay. Like I kind of see my place as bringing the technologies together. So for career path, a lot of people go to the medical device industry. So they'll work for like Medtronic, Edwards Life Sciences, Abbott, these places. So they'll make pacemakers. They'll make stents that go into, vascular grafts. You could do prosthetics like artificial hips. There's also a lot of work right now on brain machine interfaces. So putting electrodes into the brain, reading the brain signals, and then being able to, if someone is paralyzed and they want to move an arm to do a certain thing, what are they thinking when we move our arm? What is our brain doing? What are the signals from the brain? And then how do we transmit those to like a robotic arm to do it for us, right? That's also in the realm of biomedical engineering. Also imaging, so like ultrasound, et cetera, any imaging system you see at the hospital. So those are kind of more the traditional routes. There's a lot more like molecular cellular aspect to BME, which is also more in my vein. So you all have probably heard about CRISPR, gene editing, immunotherapy, right? There's a lot of biomedical engineers that go into those fields as well, because you're engineering the cells, right? And a lot of times you're engineering devices that will interface with the cells. So, there's a lot of drug companies and other startup biotech companies that are in these areas. You can be a professor like me, so you can, continue to stay in academia. You can do consulting. So I have a student who's a consultant now. So, companies will hire a consultant for a few months to give them advice on a certain project, and you have that biomedical engineering expertise if that's what their project is about. Some biomedical engineers also go into patent law. So you could go to law school, or you could just be a patent agent. So as universities or companies are making new products and wanting to patent them, lawyers have to review all the documentation, right, and write the patents and look for competing art and all that. So they law firms always need specialists in different scientific disciplines. So patent law is another path. So, but yeah, with biomedical engineering, you're kind of, because all these different fields, there's a lot of options.
That's really inspiring to hear. I've honestly I've heard about all these things, but it's so cool to see someone who's actually worked in so many different fields. It's honestly so inspiring. Thank you so much for being here today. Does anyone else have any question? You can just unmute yourself at this point. Okay, then I think we are good for today. Thank you so much, Dr. McCain. You have been such an inspiration to all of us, and I'm so happy that you are here with us today. All of us can just take a small thing of what you said. We are it's just amazing to see you here, honestly. I'm so happy to hear all this advice and to hear it from someone who's pursuing such a huge major too. It's amazing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the kind words. And thank you for organizing this. This is really amazing. You all, as much as I can, I want to empower all of you to, pursue your dreams if they're in STEM fields or whatever. Really just find your passion and stick with it.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you went from graphic design to this puts a lot of perspective into how deciding if you want to go into STEM can't be set in stone right from college. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think sometimes, I'm a parent now of like very young children. My kids are 2 and 5, but sometimes there's, I think, too much pressure put on kids, right, to like decide their path at early age. And you're still developing and figuring out what you're interested in. And so, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. Have a good weekend, holiday weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.